Welcome to the Payments Trilogue, where three seasoned professionals discuss payments and more for Europe and beyond.
Hello, this is Michael, Ralph, and Xavier from the Trilogue, where we again want to do a short summer episode on a particular topic. We may actually be doing more of these, but we thought we would look at some European institutions, some of the organizations around payments, and see what they're doing. Are they doing the right thing? What are they doing? And the one we've chosen today is the ERPB, European Retail Payment Board, I think. I used to be a member of that, but I haven't been for a long while. And it's, maybe we could get a little bit of help from Xavier. What is it and what's its goal?
Okay, well, I can check their website, and it is defined as this. The ERPB is a high-level strategic body tasked with fostering the integration, innovation, and competitiveness of Euro retail payments in the European Union. It was launched on 19 December 2013 by ECB and replaced the SEPA Council, which was co-chaired by the ECB and the Commission. So this is the formal definition. It's a grand definition, so it's a submission. It's very impressive because it fosters integration, innovation, and competitiveness. It's too many things and two important things. It also recognizes that it is limited to Euro retail payments, so it's just a fraction of the wider and more diversified European Union. But at least it's the engine of the European Union, the Euro zone. So that's the formal definition. I think, personally, I think that even with many imperfections, I think it's something that has had positive results. So it has been good. It's good to bring together to the same table different actors coming from the supply side, the demand side, and having a kind discussion on certain topics and try to identify what are the issues, what are the subjects that could be tackled by such a body. So that it's good, even with the many imperfections. It may be criticized by the outside world.
Okay, that's very helpful. So the Retail Payment Board tries to get all the actors from all sides of the market together to discuss strategic issues. That is the idea. It is, of course, retail. So again, we are ignoring 80% of the market, all the corporate payments, but that's another topic. But if we just stay within retail, maybe Ralph, you could just take us through who are the major people in that board.
Yeah, so as Javier mentioned, so it is there to provide a balanced view between the supply side and the demand side. So to have everyone around the table from the supply side and the demand side. And so from the supply side, it's, obviously the banks, so the three banking groups, sort of the private banks, the savings banks, and the cooperative banks, but also the non-banks. So we do have the electronic money institutions, EMA, which, by the way, I was some time ago representing there, but then also the payment institutions, EPIF and ETPPA, which I'm representing now. So that's the supply side. And you have, importantly, also the EPC. In my mind, actually sort of having the leading role of the supply side there, because it's the representative of the community of all PSPs, and that's bank and non-bank PSPs. So they have the sort of overarching view there, and are very have a very strong voice in the Erpb, and that's what Javier doing for many years, since I can think, actually. So it was for me, he always felt that he was like co-chairing it really there. But we have then on the other side the demand side, where we have the consumers. You have the BUC and I think the H platform, and then there is also representatives from the retailers, the offline retailers, that's Eurocommerce, the online internet retailers, that's e-commerce Europe, also business and corporates, by the way, in there. So EACT Business Europe is having that seat, and small and medium size, so SMEs, which is represented by SME United. and also national public administrators. So that's the supply side, demand side balance. But then now we also have the euro system in there. So there are 5 national central bank representatives in there, which are rotating between all the whatever 27 there are. And there is one national central bank representing the non-euro NCBs. So, and coming back to your introduction, so it's not the European retail payments board; it's the Euro retail payments board. And but anyway, so there's also non-euro representation in there. There's observers, the European Commission. At times there are guests. For the last few times, there was the Acquirer Association, and when they say guests, it's sort of like they're on trial to become a member, more or less. So they will probably likely to become a member. So that's the Acquirer Association, Erpb. And the whole thing is chaired by the ECB, by their Director General for Payments. That's currently Piero Cipollone. As a member of the executive board of the ECB. So that is how it is structured, which is meaning that it really represents the whole market. You have stakeholders, you have basically all stakeholders there. And this has been very valuable that there is a recognized a body that has where everyone trusts to have all stakeholder views viewed. So for example, when we had the Digital Euro project starting, there were different, advisory boards. There was a market advisory group or whatever, and there were different ways of doing it. But eventually, the ECB thought, okay, well, the Erpb is the best and actually only body that we have in Europe that represents all stakeholders, really. And so that no one feels left out if we have the Erpb reps represented somewhere, like in the Digital Euro project.
Okay, that's very helpful to understand that. I mean, that immediately raises some questions. If you have such a large group of people with such diverse interest, are you ever going to get any meaningful consensus there? So that'd be interesting to understand, or maybe just a little bit about the practicalities. I mean, how often do they meet? If they're very strategic, presumably they set the roadmap for the next few years and don't need to meet so often, but there's so much changing, which means that maybe they should meet more often. Xavier, can you help us a little bit how they balance these topics?
Usually, there are 2 meetings per year scheduled. In June this year, they have skipped one, but that's something really exceptional. So they conceive a couple of meetings per year, which, as you say, may be somehow artificial, because sometimes you need to have more meetings, and sometimes you may go ahead without having a formal meeting. But this is a formality, and you have a couple of meetings. Most of the time is used in information or reporting topics. So it's the Commission reporting on the legislative initiatives, or the ECB reporting on the progress of the Digital Euro project, or the EPC reporting on how instant payments are progressing. And there are many topics which are just reports from the different stakeholders, and it has become more and more difficult to identify truly strategic issues to be discussed. So lately, we have been asked on several occasions to propose topics, and we have not yet identified really important ones. Maybe fraud is one of the topics that should be addressed from a strategic point of view with the collaboration of all the stakeholders. But it is less and less easy, I would say, to identify truly strategic issues that could be discussed at the table.
That's a bit disappointing because, of course, that was, the expectation, right? And I remember when I was there in the early days of the Erpb, I was representing a large group of banks. There were very long-term, strategic, big topics. When I look at the agenda of the Erpb now, they look at the sort of QR code, technical standardization, and lots of reports, like you're saying. So that doesn't seem to be doing its job. And I think a lot of people seem to be quite concerned whether the ERPB is really fulfilling its role of strategy in shaping the future of Europe. Is that too critical, Xavier, or do you think
Well,
that's fair?
I would agree with you, and I would say that yes, that's why they have taken some time off to really rethink what would be the functioning of the ERPB in the future. So what I expect is that for the next meeting, I will not be there, but for the November meeting, they will propose some changes to the functioning of the ERPB that could address those concerns that you have well identified.
Okay, and Ralph, you also
Yeah.
have an opinion on
If I may, because I always felt that it was of great value. Well, in the early days when I was there, I mean, what I disliked was it was very, very, very structured. Maybe you have to do it that way if you have so many different players around the table. But it was really like very narrow. What has been discussed, and a lot was done in writing, and so you got the minutes before the meeting actually, because it was already clear on what was all to be discussed and agreed, and then only if the meeting differed from it, then the difference was amended, and so it was really I don't know, stiff basically. So we were hoping and we were trying to open that a bit more up, and but nevertheless it had on their agenda the main topic. So for example, at the beginning there was open banking. There was a working group on which was quite valuable, also on the operational side of open banking. It was driving instant payments and very efficiently there at the beginning, and and also like and trying to create a framework, a governance framework for instant payments at the POI. But then and the idea was always, and there was also sort of the SEPA account access scheme initiated there. There was a working group for that. The idea was always that you have like the high level agreement done at a working group of the ERPB, and then to do the implementation or the actual work. So most of these projects were handed over to the EPC for implementation or for doing some groundwork. So for example, on the Instat POI working group, after we were let me start with SPA. So once we had the SPA high level agreement achieved, then it was handed over to the EPC as a scheme manager to implement it, and that's what then happened. Similarly, for the Instat POI, there were a number of recommendations coming out of the initial working group, which were then to be looked at by the EPC, like QR code, NFC, BLE standardization, like whatever, how the interoperability could work. But for the latter, it was planned to then be taken back and to create that governance framework, and that did not happen. It was stalled. And maybe if I can bring it up here, in my view, that had a lot to do with, from my point of view, the bank side not really wanting to pursue it this way. And also now, as the ERPB is sort of being reviewed, and there was some, all stakeholders were asked what is good, what is bad, what should be changed. So we provided our input. I have the impression that specifically more from the bank supply side, there is hesitation to use it more, and there would be a preference to use it less. Well, Javier, tell me if I'm wrong. That's my impression.
Well, I think it's a question of priorities in the different banks. So they will choose some higher priorities to implement, and maybe it's not in the top priority list to invest on those solutions. But I think it's a question of the market of the market adopting a particular solution or not. So, but I don't think that there is a concerted action by banks. It's up to each bank to choose what to do or not.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, that sounds fair. Yeah. Okay, maybe as a final question, this could be a platform for sort of public-private alignments, cooperation, understanding. Is that working?
I think it helps. My summary is that even with all its imperfections, it is a valuable body. So it has had childhood which has been difficult, stiff, as Ralph was saying, probably needs now more flexibility on its functioning. It needs also to split in between the technical work and the political representation, because so far it has been mixed. There is only one kind of body where to discuss, and technical issues are mixed up with political representations, and maybe we need to split and to have a technical debate maybe earlier than the political meeting, when you have to represent your constituency. That I think would make sense in the future. But what I think is that some measures will be implemented to make it more effective for the future, and really to address the strategic needs of the not only European payments market.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Okay,
Well,
could I,
thank
because you know, one of my big concerns now going forward is that I saw the ECB so far like here chairing this body, like a more neutral position, mediating between the demand side and the supply side of retail payments, but now with the Digital Euro project, I think it sort of changes the situation a little bit. So the ECB becomes a supply side member of here. So they're not just having, cash money, which is sort of not in competition with electronic payments of the private side, but if they're doing the online Digital Euro, then it will be obviously in competition with other electronic payment solutions, and therefore they're losing their neutral position here. And so if that goes ahead, and if we do want to have a public-private dialogue here, then we will need another body who is more neutral in this to bring this together, where the different supply solutions have an equal voice and not one sort of stronger than others. So that's I think one of my questions for it going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. I think we've traversed this one of the bodies beginning with E, and there are probably another 20 other ones we might be doing in the future. So I hope you find that entertaining, interesting, and thank you again to Ralph and Xavier and to all of you listening to this episode, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Many thanks for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to seeing you again next time.